Over the last 25 years, I've had the privilege of interviewing and highlighting some truly interesting people. I mean, everyone who is anyone, both the famous and the infamous, from presidents and their first ladies to kings and queens, movie stars and pop stars, captains of industry, heads of state, sports personalities, innovative entrepreneurs, and some pretty fascinating everyday people. Today, I am absolutely proud to introduce you to Aron Lofton, a former professional fighter who reinvented himself over the last 5 years to become a multi-million-dollar property developer who has now worked on nearly $750 million worth of development and multifamily deals. Okay, Aron, I'm excited to know how you did it, but I have to start off with the basics. How'd you get your start in real estate development, professional boxer?
Absolutely. And thank you for having me, Star. It's such a pleasure to be with you today. Star, about 12 years ago, I started a painting company called Texas Home Design. Very humble. I was getting, it was to the point where I was going from property to property, door to door, actually getting kicked out for soliciting my services. I had about $1,500 in the bank. I came up with a price sheet. I went out and got insurance, and I pushed all the chips in at the time. So go door to door, started painting multifamily units, interior. As we built a reputation for ourselves, we had the opportunity to look at other scopes. So a lot of these property managers and property management groups would come to us and say, hey, are you interested in doing carpentry? Can you do roofing? Can you do siding? The answer was always yes, and I would go figure it out. So that went on for about 5 years. We saw a significant amount of growth over those 5 years. And then I was introduced to a developer out of Frisco, Texas, a very successful gentleman. And I worked closely with his team. We were coming in as a general contractor, looking at some of the basic trades, drywall, painting, framing, things of that nature that were in our wheelhouse at the time. Well, I built a decent relationship with some of his team and ended up bringing a few of those people on board. We started chasing development deals. 5 years later, we've got about $350 million worth of development deals, primarily in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Frisco, Prosper, McKinney, and places like that. And we've got a really strong foothold on the Texas market. Texas is one of the fastest growing states in the nation. So it's a good time to be here, good place. And, with our roots here, we've got a pretty good foothold on the state. So, that's kind of where it started. Very humble painting company, and we just kind of continued to grow. If anybody asked me if I was interested in any other scopes, the answer was always yes, and I would figure it out. I think at the end of the day, one of my strengths is being very resourceful,
Yes,
and building the right team around me.
and you and I have a little something in common. I went to law school in Texas, and so
Okay.
I love being down in that area.
Okay.
I'm curious because I know a little bit about real estate development, but
Sure.
it all depends on the business model of the developer. So, in a
Oh, absolutely.
nutshell, take me through your business model.
As a business developer, we really have two products that we focus on. One of those is with our group, Wildhorn Capital. We're based out of Austin, Texas. And what we really focus on is multifamily repositioning. So we purchase B and C level apartment complexes. We come in, we renovate them, and then we bump the rents up. And then we either decide to hold the asset or we can flip the asset. The second part of that equation is developing raw land. And that's where property halo development comes in. So we'll go out, we'll evaluate the tract, we'll put together a site plan. And if we feel like it's a deal that we want to pursue, depending on the type of product that we're going to build and go vertical with, then at that point, and this is where the proof is in the pudding, right? We go out and we put the capital stack together. So we have groups of investors that have entrusted us over the last 5 years that will come in as equity partners, or they'll help us secure the debt. So we put the capital stack together. We mitigate the risk as best as possible by hiring the best team of professionals in the state of Texas to go out and do all the proper due diligence on these deals. And again, we're trying to mitigate the risk as best as possible for the investors that we bring in. So it gives us an opportunity to mitigate the risk, put the deals together, and hopefully get the returns that we're looking for.
That actually sounds like a really well thought out strategic plan,
Yes, ma'am.
which reminds me of your previous career and history as a professional fighter. My husband is a big fan
Okay.
of mixed martial arts and boxing, and he and I watch pretty much every major fight together. And I
Okay.
know that it's all about strategy. And so it seems as if you have just flipped the script and put strategy into your next career. But what can you tell me a little bit about that time in your life, and how did it shape you into the person that you would become, other than that strategy that we have both agreed on?
Absolutely. So being humble, mutual respect, and putting the right team around you, I think it'd be the 3 points that I like to bring to the table here. Number one, at the time, whenever I first got involved in mixed martial arts, it was right around 2005. I was a 230 pound, muscled up guy, and decided to go into a jujitsu gym. And it was a very humbling experience. I had 150, 160 pound guys that would just choke me and twist my arms. And I was just like, man, what in the world is going on? So number one was being humbled. Number two is a mutual respect. In the MMA community, as a professional fighter, whether it's you, your opponent's team, your team, there tends to be a mutual respect across the board. Occasionally the guys get in the trash talking and pushing back and forth, and a lot of that's for show. But at the end of the day, we're all there to do a job. It's just like if you're going to play a one-on-one game of basketball, I don't take any of it personal. I respect everybody that I compete against. And I carry those values today throughout my company with my employees and the folks that I'm working for. The last piece of that equation is giving us an opportunity to build the right team around us. I want to be involved with people that have been through the fire, that have had the opportunity to come up in the same opportunities that I've come up with. And I'm a really good talent scout. So, I get with people that I gel with on a personal level first, and I try to hire the smartest people around me at the time. So, sometimes that rubs a few people the wrong way, especially if I'm snatching some of their better talent. But at the end of the day, we've got a goal, we've got a vision, and that's kind of how we've structured it.
It's interesting that you point that out, because I read that you've said that part of your job is knowing what to say and knowing what not to say. So give us a little insight as to the nuances that present themselves in your line of work on one hand and the other.
Well, that's a great point. Early on, as I was getting into professional fighting, and even, when I was doing medical sales over 20 years ago, there'd be a lot of instances where I'd put my foot in my mouth. So I learned very quickly that I need to wrangle my thoughts, think fast, speak slow, and make sure that I'm on point.
We all need to learn that lesson, Aron. Let me be very clear. It's not just you, it's the rest of us also.
Oh, yes. Well, another piece of this is making sure that I'm breeding that environment for the people that I either work for or that work for me. We've got about 130 people moving across the state on a day-to-day basis. And almost every single one of those folks have my phone number, and we have an open door policy. I don't think there's a need to have a negative conversation. We're going to have problems. We're going to make mistakes, but I want to empower the folks that work for me to have an opportunity to run their projects as if it's their own business. And when they do make a mistake, we have a positive conversation, we learn from it. And I just ask that they keep from making those same mistakes over and over again. And so far, that business model has bred an environment to give people a safe opportunity, feel good about where they work, feel good about who they work for, and it breeds kind of that family environment. So far, it's served us really well.
Yes, and speaking of your family, I know that you have said in the past that one of your proudest accomplishments is being a successful father. I know the role that my dad has played into my life. I know the role that my husband is playing in our son's life. So let me ask you, what role has family played in creating the personal and professional success that you have obviously achieved?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So 12 years ago, when I started Texas Home Design, I realized I had a little munchkin on the way. And at that point, up until that point, I was a professional fighter, and I made decent money, but certainly not enough to support a family and to feed additional mouths. I knew I needed to shift gears. I didn't know what profession I needed to go into or what I wanted to go into, but I knew that I had the drive, the perseverance. And many times I've had the opportunity to look at what someone else is doing and know that I can recreate that wheel, tweak it, and make it my own. So, I've got this beautiful baby girl with blue eyes looking at me, and I'm thinking, man, I've got to go out and get it and make it happen. So I shift gears. I went all in, as I said earlier, again, $1,500 in the bank, and man, there was no turning back. There was no option to fail. A lot of those values and opportunities and the perseverance that's gone through My daughter sees me pushing through that on a weekly basis. She hears me on the calls. She's been to some of the job sites with me. And now I can see some of those same values and some of those same strengths are instilled in her. She's an absolute monster. She's 10 years old. She's a third year of gymnastics going into gold. And she's just got a great attitude, a winning attitude, a very positive attitude. So yeah, absolutely. She's been a huge part of my success, and knowing that I've got a family to support and I want to give them a life that they deserve and appreciate really been a driving force behind me.
That's really wonderful to hear. I'm going to jump back into business for just a minute, because I hear so many personal
Sure.
influences on your professional life. And then I'm hearing professional influences on your personal life. How do you bring those two things together in the integration to foster that employer-employee relationship that you are trying to build with your staff?
Oh yeah. Again, when we hire people, a lot of times it's by word of mouth. If we have folks working for us for the last 4 or 5 years, maybe they have family members, maybe they have friends, even though somebody may be making $1 or $2 more at another job, they don't feel appreciated, they don't feel respected. We make sure to pour back into our employees. We have annual meetings, we have semi-quarterly meetings where we bring everybody together. We get together at a nice hotel or a nice resort, and we make sure to get plenty of face time, not just with the employees, but with their families as well. We want to make sure that they feel safe and secure and appreciated. And a lot of times, again, even if they're making $1 or $2 more somewhere else where they just really kind of hate their job or hate showing up, they're gonna want to come work for us because of the environment that we breed. So we want to give them a safe opportunity, a safe place, and again, give them an opportunity, give them a voice. If they see something in the field that we could be doing a little bit differently, we want them to bring that to us, and we want them to feel like there's an opportunity to make changes based on the day-to-day procedures in the field. So we respect those guys, we appreciate them. And again, out of the 130 folks that work for me, I think every single one of them have my personal cell phone number and have used it to discuss either personal issues or business issues. And I always welcome it. And I always make time to stop whatever I'm doing and give them the attention that they need and deserve.
You know, Aron, it's so interesting and wonderful at the same time that you say that. You know, as a business leader, I have always ascribed to the theory that there are 3 integral parts to any successful business. The first one is, of course, how you relate to your clients or your members or those consumers that you serve. The second one is how you interact and integrate with the culture into your culture of your employees. And then the third one is, if you do the first 2, you will always have a return on your investment for your investors. Do you agree with my assessment?
Oh, 100%. It's important to hit on all points. I think it all starts with the employees. At the end of the day, I want them to know that I'm working just as hard for them as they're working for me. So when I'm going out and I'm going to these meetings and I'm building these relationships and bringing on new accounts, I'm doing that, yes, for the company, but I'm also making sure that our employees that are in the field have longevity. They see that, they know that. We go over that in the meetings when we get together, just to let them know what the future looks like and let them know that they've got a secure future with our company.
And you've led me right into this next question, because I know what has happened in the past 5 years, but where do you see your business going into that future?
That's a great question. Right now, we've got about $500 million in multifamily assets that we're managing. And most of that is between San Antonio and Austin. We're looking at other markets currently. We're looking at Houston and Dallas. Anywhere in the Texas footprint is very attractive to us right now because of the growth. The other piece of that with property halo development is we've got about $250 million worth of assets that we've built and went vertical on over the last 5 years. We're looking to double our portfolio in the next 5 years. And, with any time that you've got that growth, the significant growth, you've got to bring on the right people. You've got to bring on new talent, as well as going out and finding the right deals. So it gives us an opportunity to speak with people like yourself and get the word out there that we're doing some really cool stuff in Texas. We've got an opportunity to continue to grow the business, and we're looking for partners to get involved.
That is, again, I'm going to compliment you on your business plan. You have
Thank you.
Short-term planning down to a science and long-term planning down to a science. What's the one thing that you'd like the viewer of this video feature to walk away with today?
There's a very aggressive company in the state of Texas that knows what they're doing. We've got a proven track record. We're moving fast. We've got a great group of people around us that are aggressively pursuing deals throughout the state. And we would love to open up those new relationships. And for anybody out there that's interested in reaching out, they can go directly to my website, which is aronglofton.com. And again, that's ARONGLOFTON.com to reach out to me directly. I like to facilitate those relationships personally. That way they're not talking to some rep that they've never met, that they never know, that they're not familiar with. I like to jump on those calls. I like to meet with people face to face and give them that sense of comfort saying, hey, we've got the right guy and this is where we want to place our capital with.
Well, that is wonderful. I'm glad to promote a business that is already doing well, but also that is serving a community. I really do ascribe to this old adage that the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. And I am so glad we had an opportunity to talk about you putting your dreams into action. Thank you, Aron.
Thank you so much for your time today, Star. I really appreciate it.
Same here.